Today I propose to present UNCOPIED. It can be seen as an NFT minting platform, or it can be seen as an online distributed archive of new media. How did it start? Yesterday we saw the presentation of work by Dario Eveline on a representation of COVID-19. One of the output was also this image, which we called Chinese Sea, which is another visual representation of scientific communities involved in COVID from an aspect of cultural diversity. And we wanted to create a limited edition, physical edition of this picture, but distribute it as Creative Commons. And so we brainstormed on this idea, and in the end, we used the technology from the 13th century called the chirograph. The idea is you take a sheet of paper, you write the same contract 3 times, then you cut it. 2 people go with 1 copy of the contract, and the third party keeps it as proof of the authenticity of the contract. So UNCOPIED is using a similar technique with 5 pieces to create a verifiable label that cannot be copied to authenticate a physical object. Now, this was about physical object, but we have the same issue in the digital world. So in the physical world now, it's almost possible to copy any painting, any photography to a point that it's impossible to tell which is the original and which is the copy. In the digital world, it's the same. A picture is copied identically, and all NFT or blockchain technology does is attribute an ID for it, but you could still create a new ID on another NFT platform. So it doesn't really provide any absolute unicity except in the context of one blockchain. So the idea was to address both these aspects. The first one is addressed using the chirograph, and the second one is addressed using a reverse search engine which recognizes the images as being the same. So in the end, the system has this chirograph for physical object. Then there's a document that explains what is the object, what is its provenance, what is the purpose. Then there's metadata, which can be linked.art or schema.org. The idea is to have long-term conservation on a distributed database system called IPFS, which is similar to that used in the NFTs. One of its principles is it's public, it's replicated, it's censor-proof, but it raises questions also on how to implement legitimate censorship, for example, for child pornography or things like that. Then there's the reverse image search, so that you can recognize that this picture is actually the original picture. And all this is using a carbon-friendly blockchain to make sure we don't burn the planet when we archive a photography, for example. So this is a chirograph manually made or made on a larger scale using a special printer. The similarity, the idea is common perhaps to Google reverse search engine. The idea is to recognize that 2 pictures are the same even if it's really small changes. So what did we start? We start with digital art, very collective artworks, experimenting also with way to provide royalty systems for the artists. We also experimented with a way to secure cultural heritage objects. This is a statuette from Mali in Africa. The original project was with a pilot project with the National Museum of Mali and with the Museum of Quai Branly. And we experimented also with violins, typically unique objects with this secure label in an industry where traditional labels are very copied very often. And finally, this is one of the latest exhibitions with LACMA Museum and Epoch. Or this is an example that is a mix of physical and digital artwork with an artist called Nancy Baker Carriel. Now, what are some of the questions left? How to implement legitimate censorship? One question. Second question, which I took yesterday, is how to link also with other archives in a distributed system like this one. And third, it's also what is the right model. We started this as a company. Maybe not-for-profit would have been a better model for long-term conservation and archiving. So that's also some of the open points at this point. Thank you very much.